Welcome to Part 3, Session 4, Bible Studies for Life. It's spring 2020, and today we look at Galatians chapter 5. The topic of this passage is serve one another, to serve others. A characteristic of the Christian life is that we serve others. We take others' existence as more important than our own, so we give to them, we do for them, we help one another. That idea of one another is so important within the church, so important in the Christian life. So today we'll look at Galatians chapter 5, starting with verse 13. For you were called to be free, brothers and sisters, only don't use this freedom as an opportunity for the flesh, but serve one another through love. We are called to be free. This is our calling. This is what God has done in our lives. He has set us free. Now that free means free. You are free. You can do as you desire. You have all the capability now to do good things in the name of Christ, for the cause of Christ. You are free to do the things that you want to do the things that God has called you to do. He has called us into freedom, and that freedom now needs to be used not for the flesh, but to serve one another through love. This is, in essence, to say, you know what, you can sin. You're free to sin, and you'll be forgiven. Don't take advantage or take for granted your freedom. Don't use it for yourself, for the flesh. Don't indulge it. You get to choose how you're going to live. You can demean others or encourage them. You can be deceitful or you can be honest. You get to choose how you're going to live. So don't indulge your flesh. Don't use your freedom just to make yourself better off, to take care of your own life. Don't indulge yourself, but instead use that freedom to serve others. Now, this is an interesting thought, isn't it? It's not that we serve others because we are now held bondage by God and we have to do that or else. I think that's often how we look at the Christian life, that we have to serve. We have to do, well, you only did that because you have to. You only said that because you're supposed to. You're a Christian. No, you see, we're free. We don't have to anything. There is no have to anything. We are called to, and we have the opportunity to do things that he is saying you couldn't do these things without the freedom that Christ gives you, without him setting you free from the bondage of sin. If you're not set free from the bondage of sin, you can't do that. You can't choose to do unselfish things for the cause of Christ because you're not free. But when you're set free, now you can serve one another through love. Choose how you use your freedom. You choose how you're going to live your life. Take control over your life now. You can, because sin no longer has hold of you. Sin no longer has control of you. Sin no longer dictates the boundaries of your existence. You have been set free. Use that freedom to serve one another through love. It says in verse 15, but look, here's what will happen. If you bite and devour one another, watch out or you will be consumed by one another. Your choice. You can be deceitful. You can be petty. You can pick at. You can try to destroy. You can say nasty things about. You can gossip. You can do those things. But if you do that, you need to understand, here's what happens, okay? This is the natural occurrence of what happens. You see, when we start to tear another person down, they respond by tearing us down. It never stops with one person. It never stops with one act. One mean act yields another mean act. It leads to another mean act, and it builds and it builds and it builds. And what happens? We devour one another. We don't start out that thought. Our thought is, I'll destroy them so I can be on top. All right? But what happens? We try to destroy them, then they try to destroy us, and next thing you know, we're both destroyed. Don't do that. If you do that, if you start out with that, that's what's going to happen. If you bite and devour one another, watch out. You'll be consumed by one another. What does he say? Serve one another. That's verse 13. Serve one another. Don't try to destroy the other person. Serve that person. Do for them. Help them. Serve them. What a different way that is to look at relationship. It's extremely important that we realize that the person that we really want to devour, that person that when we say that, who would you like to tear down? In somebody's face, pictures in our brain, right? Who we want to tear down. Okay, the freedom of the Christian is now to say, instead of doing what comes naturally, what sin is calling you to do, which is destroy them, you have been set free. You don't have to serve that sinful desire. You don't have to serve that fleshly desire. Why don't you serve them? Do something to help them. Serve them out of love. See what happens. Serve them out of love. Okay? He says in chapter 6, now, brothers and sisters, if someone is overtaken in a wrongdoing, somebody falls prey to some sin, you who are spiritual, restore such a person with a gentle spirit, watching out for yourselves so that you also won't be tempted. Carry one another's burdens. In this way, you will fulfill the law of Christ. If someone is overtaken, if they are falling into some sin, the spiritual people are to wait until that person comes to them and says, I need help. Please help me get out of this. Right? No, you know what the picture is here? You go to them. You don't wait for them to come to you. You see that they're walking down that path. You go to them. Now, let's be honest. We all recognize that I may go to them and they just may not respond. They may not be ready to listen. They may not want to hear what I have to say. Okay. Take the step to go to that person and try to restore them. Work towards restoring them, not to condemning them, not to explaining why they're all wrong, but to bring them home. You make the effort to restore them, to bring them back. Okay. You who are spiritual, restore them. Use a gentle spirit. A gentle spirit. Watch out. You don't fall into the same thing, but carry their burden. Okay. We are not to unload our burdens on other people. We are to carry other people's burdens. Now, there's a real difference here, okay? Unloading our burden is what people do when they feel guilty about something that they're doing, and so they just lay it out and let everybody else feel bad about it. They give it to people who have not asked for it. This is saying, even if they're not ready to give it or they don't want to, you go when you ask for it. You be willing to carry their burden. You carry their hurt. Carry their pain. Now you hear that? We carry their pain means we feel that pain. We volunteer to do that. Okay? Our responsibility as believers is not to unload our burden on other people. Our responsibility as believers is to ask people, can I help carry your burden? Let me help carry your burden. Okay? If somebody hasn't asked for it, don't unload your burden on them. Okay? Don't just unload it. Too many of us are very willing to unload our burden on other people, but we don't want to carry anybody else's. I don't get the privilege of just saying, I'm just going to unload my burden on you. But you know what I get to do? I get to say, can I help carry your burden? Can I help you? I want to pray for you. I want to walk with you through this. This is fulfilling what Christ calls us to. This is doing the things that God has invited us into. This is the life He invites us to. Let each person examine his own work, and then he can take pride in himself alone and not compare himself with someone else, for each person will have to carry his own load. Okay? You carry your own load. You look at yourself. You take care of yourself. Don't unload everything on everybody else. Don't expect other people to carry your burden. Don't expect them to do that. Okay? You don't unload your burden unless they ask. You don't ask unless you're willing to carry. So don't go to someone and say, hey, how can I pray for you if you're not willing to pray for them? Don't go to someone and say, how can I help you if you're not willing to help? If you're not willing to listen and help carry their burden, don't ask the question. Okay? You take care of yourself, right? You take care of yourself. Don't compare yourself with others. Don't look at others and go, boy, they don't have a burden like I do. You don't know what their burden is. You don't know what they've gone through. You don't know the hurt they felt. Just because you don't know doesn't mean they don't have one, right? Just because you haven't heard what it is, it may be they don't share their burden with everybody like you do. Okay? So don't think that because you haven't heard it, they don't have one. Okay? Don't compare yourself to them. Don't look at that. You just take care of yourself and then say, how can I help you? Don't expect other people to carry your burden, but if they ask, let them. But be willing to ask other people, can I help carry your burden? You see, it's this real difference here in the way we look. And I think it is going from this self-centered, I'm going to unload my burden on you because I don't want to carry it anymore. Boy, that's a pretty selfish look at it. I want you to carry my burden. That's selfish. Selfless is to say, I've got a burden, yeah, but tell me what yours is. Let me help carry yours. Let me help you. Just because somebody offers to help doesn't mean they don't have burdens too. It just means they're willing to say, I'll help carry yours. I'll help carry your burden. Each person carries their own load, but when somebody asks, you be willing to share and let them carry. Now, hey, if you don't want to carry it, don't ask. Okay? Don't ask. Verse 10 says, therefore, as we have opportunity, let us work for the good of all. Let's work for the good of all, especially for those who belong to the household of faith. Let's work for the good of all, especially for those who belong to the household of faith. Okay, look, as we have opportunity, as we get the chance, work for the good of others, especially those who belong to the household of faith. As you have opportunity, as you're given the chance, look for those opportunities. When you have those opportunities, help other people, work for their good. And he does say here, there is some priority, especially for those who belong to the household of faith, especially for other believers. And here's why I think he says that, because we recognize we have limited resources, right? We have a limited resource of time, of money, of things, of effort, of energy. We have limited resources. The priority for those goes to those who are other believers. There's nothing wrong with helping those who are outside of the church, but the priority here is for those within the church. Help those people first. Help those people first. You hear that? Especially for those who belong to the household of faith. Work for the good of all, especially other believers. Work for the good of all. That means everybody, but especially. As you get that opportunity, be willing to serve. Be willing to help. Be ready to serve. Be ready to help. I would say that part of this too means that we must build into our life what I like to call margin. Okay? We need a margin for helping. Think about this. Let's say that you get a $5,000 a month. Okay, you're making a good salary, you're making $5,000 a month, and if you're living on $5,000 a month, you don't have any margin to help somebody. If you live on $2,000 a month and you only get $2,000 and you live on all $2,000, you have no margin to help anybody. But if you build in a little space there, even if it's $20 or $50 a month, I've got a little bit of margin to help somebody else. If your schedule is totally full and packed and there is no time for anything but what is on your priority list, you don't have any time to help anybody else. You don't have any margin. If you're spending all of your energy on the things that you want to do, you're not building into your life energy margin to help. I'd like to help them. I'm just too tired. If you're saying that all the time, you need to restructure how you're using your time and your energy, because you're not building within your life margin for helping other people. That's really important that we make a place so that when the opportunity comes, we can help. It is the call of the believer to serve one another in love. That's what God saves us to set us free so that we can do that. Okay? He provides all of our needs. He takes care of us so that we can help others. Build into your life the margin the time, the resources, whatever it is, the energy to help other people. And then when you have opportunity, serve one another. Serve one another. Help carry one another's burdens. Carry one another's burdens. Hey, I hope this helps as you get ready to teach, as you're studying this week from Galatians chapter 5 and 6. I hope that's been a help for you. God bless you. Thanks for being a part of the study. Subscribe, like, comment, let me know what you think, and we'll see you next time. All right, bye.